got another question here, because people, read my materials, and I'm often talking about impossible healings. And so what do I really mean by impossible? Well, what I mean by impossible, in fact, I'm going to read it to you. Impossible means beyond the typical reach of man-made methods. Now, medicine, for example, and other man-made methods can do a lot of good things. And the unseen therapist can do these things as well. Let me use as an example. Maybe somewhere, somehow, someone has recovered from a severe stroke, possibly with medicine and man-made methods. But they're few and far between if they exist. Typically speaking, if you have a stroke that is so severe from a medical point of view that, we need rehabilitation, we need all kinds of other things to help with some of the symptoms, etc., but cure it, put it aside? Not really. And there are drugs involved oftentimes and so on. Now, I'm not saying here that the unseen therapist cures every stroke on the planet, but I am saying it is possible because I've seen it. We have it on video. We have a 83-year-old woman who had a stroke 6 years ago, stroke so bad that she had to hold on to two different people just to walk across her living room floor. And in one session, her daughter was applying unseen therapists to her. Maybe it was 2 sessions, 1 or 2 sessions. She no longer needs to hold on to two people. We've got her on film walking 5,000 meters, that's about 3 miles, with just the mildest of a limp, and one of her arms is just lags behind a little bit. 95% recovery, from the severe stroke. So that is, when I call that impossible, that is beyond the reach of what you can typically do with man-made methods, in this case, like medicine. Personally, I used to take blood pressure medication, blood pressure 160/100. This was a few years back. Began using unseen therapist. My blood pressure, as you get older, typically goes higher, and you've got to use drugs to bring it down. And I was using, medication to bring it down. Unseen therapist, I don't use medication anymore at all. It's been 2 or 3 years now. My blood pressure is like 125/70, which is the blood pressure of roughly a 25-year-old, and I'm 78 as I sit here speaking to you. So that is beyond the typical reach of man-made methods. I've seen cases where we've had anger management, which in the conventional sense with man-made methods takes months, years to get something done in that regard. I've seen it done in a session or 2 where the anger just isn't there anymore. They don't need to go through some other rituals and whatever they are taught in conventional means. It's just gone. They don't get angry at these circumstances anymore. That doesn't mean somebody doesn't get irritated and so on, but I'm talking about over-the-top, volcanic-type anger. No, it's just not there anymore. Yeah. And that all leads down to one thing that's very important with all this, and that is with the unseen therapist, there is one natural remedy for everything. What we're doing here with our approach, whatever we're aiming it at, we look for the causes, the specific events underneath them, the emotional issues that are unresolved, the angers, the griefs, the guilts, the fears, the resentments, and so on, that cause negative chemistry in the body that end up showing up physically in diseases and all kinds of things. We resolve those, which the unseen therapist can do so well, especially if you're trained at it and have really learned this skill well, that all of that stuff fades well.